BetOnline remains your number one source for all sports betting this season, everything from NFL and bowl seasons to esports. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost every sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag and receive 50% off your welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to receive your reward. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, guys, welcome on into another fantastic episode of Bar Talk. I'm excited to have you guys on today. It's a little bit of kind of a different episode than what I've normally done. By no means was I planning on doing this year, but with kind of the way that everything has been, honestly, just since the year started, it seemed like this is what I just really wanted to talk about. As some of you may know, as some of you may not know, I am a pretty big football fan. Okay. I love the NFL. I love following the sport. Part of my job is that I get to do that. Some of you may or may not know, but I work with Believe. And so I help produce some of our football shows, which just means, I get to continue to watch the game and talk about it and helping some of the guys that I work with, making sure that they're talking about it in the best way possible. I think I, like many football fans, was looking forward to the Monday night game against Buffalo and Cincinnati. It's just a big game, two good teams. And you don't have to, honestly, even if you're living under a rock, I think you know what's going on now because it became national news. And in an hour or two was about Damar Hamlin needing CPR on the field. And I couldn't look away from the television. I just had to keep watching. The way that ESPN and Scott Van Pelt and RC covered the breaking news that night was honestly just like a masterclass in journalism. It was absolutely incredible. It is not easy. No one knows what they're doing in those situations. It is not a playbook on knowing how to handle any situation like this. And I thought they did a great job. I want to share with you guys the segment that aired on ESPN's NFL Live on Tuesday, January 2nd. It's a little long, so take your time, but I really want you to hear it.
Just for a moment there, as you see RC's tweet, he said the next snap of football will be one of the scariest snaps we've ever watched. I do want to take time to say that RC is like a brother to us. So to watch him so eloquently handle an impossible situation last night, we commend you, RC, and you continue to impress us with everything that you do. Awful, all the way across the board, but handled it so well. And I've heard it from every former football player today. You accept the risks when you play in the NFL. Yeah. I want to explore that idea for a minute, because how much does a young football player actually weigh those risks and maybe even the severity of these specific risks that we are unfortunately addressing today?
A young player, listen, you're aware of them. We know what the game is. I think like the reality for young players is from a very early age of starting to play football, you're taught how important like being physically and mentally tough is, physically and mentally strong. And just the brutal reality is like if you're not, you can't make it in the NFL, you know? And so like as a young player, you think that's the most important thing, because if it's not, I don't have a career. And then I think like the reality is over the years of playing this game, you start to do really hard things, like things that you physically and mentally like didn't think you were capable of. And you start to prove to yourself like, oh, I could do all these hard things, right? I could do the things that I didn't think I was capable of. And it gives you this belief of like invincibility. I could do anything, you know, like I'm Superman. And the injury stuff and the fear of injury, I feel becomes like so much less and less and less as the years go, because you prove to yourself in many ways, and like, again, to your own mind, I could do those hard things. I could do those things that hurt, all that training and preparation. And while you're aware of the potential of it, you somehow, some way become so consumed with like almost the draw to do difficult things that you don't think anything can stop you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the reasons why guys make it in the NFL and one of the reasons why guys don't.
Yeah, you get desensitized to a lot of human elements. You know, we joked about this when we played. You get a high ankle sprain in football, you rehabbing in 2 days. You get it working a normal job, you got 6 weeks paid leave. Right? And not to make light of the situation, but I'm gonna go into my home because I was speaking to my wife and she was checking on me last night. And it's funny how people will check on us as former players, right? And my mind is solely on Damar, but we have a 13-year-old son, and we talk about BMB. We show June highlight playing football every Monday on this show. And our real conversations that we had for that 1 year that he played football, my wife was terrified.
Yeah.
And before he was born, when she knew we were having a boy, before he was born, she was like, he's not playing football. And I was like, well, why would you say that? Right? Like, in my mind, I'm like, if he pushes me and he tells me he wants to play, I'm going to allow him to play. But he's going to actually understand what comes with this game. And I think that's the difference. I think that's the conflict that parents have been going through and based on this are going to go through, right? When you're having these conversations with your 6 or 7-year-old and they looking at their favorite player and they looking at these guys play on Sunday and they see the enjoyment of the game, it is our responsibility, even more so, to let them know what the risks are, but also allow them to chase that dream if they want to. And it's difficult.
I want to quickly go back to RC's actual tweet saying the next snap of football we see will be the scariest. I feel that we're going to be doing a game on Saturday, a Week 18 game between the Chiefs and the Raiders. That'll be the first time that we see football again played at the NFL level. And I'm trying to grapple with what it's going to be like and maybe even the cringe factor of thinking, I just hope everyone's going to be okay. And I obviously never played the game.
Yeah. The fear, it's a very real fear. It's an unknown, you know, like I sit here right now and I'm emotional, you know, about it. You know, like I watched RC from last night and he's emotional. And honestly, like I've been emotional a couple times today. I don't know Damar, you know, I don't know him, you know, but I feel like I do.
Yeah.
You know, like when you watch that last night, again, that bond of football, it's like, I know that guy. That could be my son one day. Like, that could be you. Yeah. That could have been RC, you know, like in that very real relationship that you build in that game is so unique that, like, the game of football, while scary and dangerous, it builds those bonds that you can't really fabricate in anything else. And that's why, like, the emotional attachment for ex-players or guys that are still playing is so real, because you sit there and you think, like, why him? Like, why that guy? And even though you don't know him, you feel like part of you is there with him. Part of you is there with his family watching this, and it feels like your brother is down on the ground. And I just, like, it's a very difficult thing as an ex-player, because Marcus, you mentioned, like, it's our job to, like, make everyone aware of the realities, but it's so hard unless you're in it. Like, it's so hard unless you're in it, you know? And you become calloused to the reality of it in a good way. And this was just like the very real exposure of some of the real aspects of it.
I think maybe it's a complicated reality. There's some glory and beauty to this game that we all love and that we celebrate and that I think we prop up, but yet you watch something like this that none of us have seen before, and it is a stark and very harsh reality.
So that statement from Marcus of, you get desensitized to a lot of human elements was running through my head over and over again. And my thought was, why have we let these men become desensitized to this? And I understand that, part of this game is that I'll never understand it. That's the reality of it. I love watching it. I enjoy the game, but I will never know what it's like to put on pads and a helmet. I just won't. And I'm okay with that. But I wanted to talk to someone who does understand that. And right now, guys, I'm having a conversation with a near and dear friend of mine, Mr. Blake Ruffino, who is the founder, CEO, and host of Are You Serious Sports. I met Blake doing the Saturday morning football shows and just wanted to get his take on this. One thing that you guys should know too, in the beginning of our conversation, Blake talks about, having seen CPR done in real time. So before Blake started doing all of this, Blake worked in law enforcement, which is why he has seen this and encountered and witnessed this. So this is going to be a little bit of a different conversation than we've had before here on the show, but I really think it's one worth having. And the reality is, I think as long as we lead with humanity during this time, and just lead with empathy, guys, I think it always wins. I think it's always the right thing to do. That's all I got. That's all I got for you guys. So let's go ahead and get into my conversation with Mr. Blake Ruffino. Enjoy. So I am going to guess, like everyone else, you probably watched the game on Monday night.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I think it's going to be one of those moments where, you have those like imprinted core memories where you remember every detail about the day and what you were doing. And that was that day.
Like a 9/11 day.
Kind of like a 9/11 day, honest to God.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I was at a Chinese restaurant with my siblings, and all of a sudden I'm looking up, and they got the TV literally at my head and across from me. And you're like, this isn't right. They don't ever cut back to studio. Why are they cutting back to studio? I stood on a chair and put my ear up to the television to try to hear it, and I still couldn't hear it. But you could just tell on everyone's face that it was so like not right. And and I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like, oh my God, did he die? Like that was my first thought, was like, my head went straight there, like because of the heaviness and everyone's ability on that broadcast, honestly, for trying to talk in a way that you could tell they were like, we don't know what to do, because who the hell knows what you're supposed to do in that situation, right? It's never something you hope to ever be in.
Yeah, I think for me, so look, I don't like going in, especially in shows, and maybe one day I will tell people like my past, and some people like my followers and listeners know somewhat of my past. But in my past, I've seen people that have had to get CPR, be resuscitated, and I will share something with you. The first time that someone had to get CPR from an EMT, I was working a beat and basically get a call. I wasn't supposed to be there. Wasn't my deal, but I'm 22 years old. Someone is hurt and injured. You go to the house, fire and rescue are there, EMTs there, and they're trying to resuscitate somebody. And I only remember just my thoughts of like praying, like, God, can you just go ahead and save this person so I don't have to go through this? And it was such a selfish moment when I reflect on it. And when, like, you look at Damar Hamlin, people like in sports, okay, I'm guilty of this all the time in covering a team in the SEC in college football. When we report things or we do things, there is nothing in Americana or America, really anywhere, where we look at a person's life in great detail. Like we put a magnifying glass on everything. And so when I say that to say sometimes players and coaches and GMs and owners are not looked at as human beings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jenna, literally someone's going to tweet later today or tomorrow or whenever this airs, such and such a coach is making $2.2 million to go coach somewhere else. I'm not out here reporting, hey, Ron from State Farm just signed a 4-year contract extension for $145,000 a year. We dehumanize players a lot of times. We really do. So when you talk about somebody that like the Skip Bayless tweet that I know everybody has seen at this point, he's a human. The Super Bowl doesn't matter. The game doesn't matter. Playoff seeding doesn't matter. That's a human being. At some point, like you got to go there. Like, and I've seen people go and tiptoe political lines. This has nothing to do with COVID. This is a human being's life.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. America does not, in real life, get to see what first responders do. They don't. Well, you know what? Of the video that I saw on Twitter alone, 92 million views. 92 million views on social media of the hit and the EMTs working. 92 million. That tells me that now you better start respecting first responders, because if they're not there, he might have not made it.
Yeah.
So that's extremely long-winded. But from a player's perspective, when they demand money, when they say, oh, I'm holding out, well, now you know why. You get dehumanized so often in this league or in that league that when you ask for something, you're looked at as a character issue guy or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
At some point, we got to start putting the human back in humanity, in my opinion.
And that's kind of honestly why I wanted to chat with you, because I don't know if you watched at all. We're recording this on Wednesday, January 4th, and this will come out on the 5th. But on Tuesday on ESPN's NFL Live, I don't know if you watched it, but it was a great show. It was. And Marcus Spears said something that really kind of struck a nerve with me. And he basically said, we get dehumanized to a lot of human elements in this league.
Yeah, I didn't see that. So, I mean, there you go.
And
there you go.
And when he said that, my first reaction, and again, I don't know if I'm asking this as a woman. I don't know if I'm asking this as someone who is like extremely empathetic and sensitive, but why do you think we've let men become desensitized to the risks at hand involved in a game?
It's of my personal opinion that men in this country, especially straight men, with all due, and especially men in sport, they're looked at in a different lens, in a different light, and really over the last 10, because, Jenna, because the argument is, well, they make tens of millions. Well, no, they don't. Let me give an example. Patrick Beverly is a guy that plays basketball, as an example. His first year in the league, he was sleeping on his mother's couch to play in the NBA. His mom was going to get her doing nail appointments, and then he was driving to the NBA so that he could collect a paycheck. He had to go into debt to go in the NBA. It's a long story. My point is everybody thinks like whatever they think about a player or players or whoever, and it's not ever really true. They're not looked at as humans at times, like in sports. I'm guilty of this too. So I can't, I think maybe I can detach myself, but a man in this country is looked go to work, pay the bills, and be sensitive. Well, I got to be honest, Jenna, I'm not a sensitive dude. I hate to say it like that, but I mean, maybe do I get in my emotions? Yeah, I wear a lot of things on my sleeve, but I'm not into the point of like, hey, I'm not going to go and share with my wife or my children, especially my children, or my not even really my best friends of, hey, struggling with this emotional situation right now.
Mhm.
And I think men are taught, at least in the South, that you got to be hard and calculated and tough and rugged.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Like, you can be who you are, and who cares what anybody looks at, like looks at you in whatever kind of light. But again, it just, of my opinion, pro athletes, and that this goes into your point, this doesn't mean women or men athletes. This is everything. And, you brought up an interesting point earlier. You were like, I'm a woman, maybe I don't understand. No, this is a humanity thing, right? Like, somebody dying is not a sports thing. It's a human thing.
Yeah.
If Damar Hamlin would have, God bless his soul, what would have happened? What would have happened? So, I mean, you got to understand that 99% of America has not seen someone had CPR prevent or done on them. And not only that, had to use an AED to get his heartbeat back regular.
Yeah.
That's not common. 1%ers see that. Doctors, nurses, first responders. That's the 1% of our country that's getting to see that on a day in, day out basis. And the world got to see it. And what's scary is it's brought more argument to a lot of this when there shouldn't be any argument. That's the thing that bothers me the most, is that we're having debates about what they should have done. Like, what are you talking about? Jenna, let me tell you this. And I want you to promise me this. If I'm dying somewhere and it's on national television or on my show, you stop everything that's going on and call 911. Okay? You get, because I don't want to die. I'm too good looking. I mean, look at me.
Exactly.
All right, I try to crack a joke. It wasn't a good one. But that's my point.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing. I don't want to die. And I don't want anybody else that I'm close with or having even an acquaintance to have to go through that. So
I want to go back to something you said just a little while within that thought. And you had talked about the stereotype of that, like, men don't talk about these things, right? Or men don't know how to talk about these things. And to be honest, as someone who is probably within the last few years has gotten more familiar with how I feel about my emotions that come up and how I'm dealing with them and being able to, like, express them, I'm still not great at it. That being said, though, I don't think it takes someone who is a doctor. I don't think it takes unbelievably the smartest human being on the planet to realize that, what those men saw, they'll never unsee. And the only thing that, like, I talked about this earlier in a meeting today, because I had said something, and by the time this comes out, honestly, I don't know if it's even going to be true, but I don't really think there should be football this week. I don't think they should play. And I know that is a crazy thing to say, but what surprised me even more, Blake, when I said this in my meeting, and I'm one of 3 girls on the call, was every single person agreed with me. And I was like, that was not the response I was expecting to get. My whole thought process is, you see something traumatic, you're going to need time to deal with it. And honestly, I don't even think a week is enough, but I do not know how you can expect, especially the players on Buffalo and the players on Cincinnati, to be able to put a helmet on and act like everything's okay, when I'd like to believe this, like, new era is trying to give men the equipment they need to better understand and process their emotions, so they don't have to rub some dirt on it and don't talk about your feelings and suppress what you're feeling, because that shit fucking eats you up inside. Yep. You almost saw a brother die. He didn't have a heartbeat. They were doing CPR for 10 minutes. And I'm just having I think my head has been all over the place. I can't stop looking at my phone. I can't stop watching the news, because I'm just like, what's new? What do we know? Do we have any updates? And I don't know how you can expect these men to play. And you even think about guys who were teammates with them or friends with them or not even friends with them. And this is just striking a nerve with guys. And you want them to play a game?
Yeah, look, I agree with you. And then I also say, to add to that, I don't know what they're supposed to do.
No one does.
And, there's not a protocol for this, like, so the crazy thing is, well, if they're going to call it, they need to call it now because it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
But what's crazy to me is like some people will have the idea, like, hey, somebody died in our office. I'm using a hypothetical.
Right.
Tomorrow morning, you got to go back to work, and, like, what would Damar want to do? Like, what would he want you to do? I think that has a lot to play into this. So,
but I'm going to interfere because I know you're going to say he would want them to play.
No, I don't know. No, I really don't know. Like,
okay.
Like, I really don't know. Like, whatever he says goes at this point. Like if Buffalo feels that he would want them to play and they want to, full discretion, you do what you want. If they don't, then they don't. Like, I really don't. It neither way bothers me. Like, neither one's the right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because now you sit in a situation in sports and athletics and everything going on. Like last night we had a basketball game. Nobody blinked an eye. Okay. Like, nobody blinked an eye. So when nobody blinks that eye and you just kind of, oh, well, let's just get updates, whatever, you sit in a situation where it's like, like I would go and ask, what do you want to do? And what do you guys think that we should do? What's crazy is they had to get Zach Taylor, the head coach of Cincinnati, to walk across the field and say, hey, brother, we're not coming back out. So either we're going to come to a mutual agreement that we're taking some time and everybody needs some time, or, and they did the right thing. I don't know what the right answer is. So I say that to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's a protocol for this. And look, excuse me, football is a very violent game, and I don't think people realize that anymore. The average lifespan for someone that's played football for more than 7 years of their life outside of high school, okay, that means 4 years of college, 3 years in the pros. Their average lifespan is 57 years old. The average lifespan for a normal aged male just on the board is 77. That's a 20-year difference. So think about your life, and the people that are listening to this are at least 20 years old or damn near close to it. Imagine having your life again and that being decreased from you playing football. There's CTE issues. There's concussion issues that we keep talking about. There's, lower body injuries that we keep talking about. So with that, Jenna, alone, for me, I hope in all of this, and I know Damar Hamlin would probably feel the same way. I just hope it gets, if there's anything, the recognition that it needs, that this is a very, very violent game. Jenna, last point here, I can make the argument that football is more violent than boxing. Here's why I say that. Now, you're not getting punched in the face. You don't get a bloody nose. But imagine, I don't have my helmet in here anymore, but imagine if you're an offensive line or defensive lineman ramming into somebody sometimes 80 times a game, and you're doing that over and over and over and over again, the damage that takes to your body. Now, you're compensated well. You choose to do that, and I understand that. But I just don't think the normal human being understands that at the end of the day.
I'm happy you brought that up because I thought I understood it. And then this happened. And as someone who, I love football. Like I couldn't even tell you how long I've been watching football. That's just how long I've been watching football. Right. I enjoy the game. I'm a fan of it. My sister literally bought me a Football for Dummies book for Christmas, which
then you had the Bears, the what do you call that? The thing you put on TikTok, not TikTok. What's that thing called? Instagram. The what's your Bears thingy?
My Bears like giant blanket hoodie.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the game. I love the sense of community that's around it. And I don't know if maybe we've just put, rose-colored glasses on for so long, and the NFL has become this sort of stage for entertainment and slight celebrity, and it's just become something that is a part of our culture now that we don't even understand. understand the like long-term effects or like how this is gonna impact these young men. I didn't know that stat that you just said about men. I mean, that's a 20-year age gap. That's 20 years of your life. Think about what you can do in 20 years of your life. And
well, you can watch your kids graduate. You can watch grandkids be born. You can go to your children's weddings. You can walk your daughter down the aisle. There's so many things that you miss on. Like, so Jenna, I run multiple businesses. Okay. There are times where I sit in my recliner at 11:30 at night and say, I didn't even see my kids today. Now, I mean, relatively, but like I didn't spend time with them. Let me not say
right.
didn't spend time with them. And I think about, well, you know what? I grew up in a household with a single mother, poor, didn't come from anything, saw my mom eat crackers and sometimes at night so that I would eat. Like, so then I go back to a point where I'm trying to live a legacy to where they don't have to want for anything that I wanted for. When my friends had new sneakers in school, I wore the ones from last year, and I better be having those things for 3 years. And my feet don't grow too big, and I got to get another pair. My point is that going back to your point about men and having to be tough, like there are just a lot of times that I think about, well, man, I really pray to God that I just had a daughter 2 months ago. I really hope that I can get to walk my daughter down the aisle or whatever. You get the point that I'm making. Whatever she wants to do, I want to have the ability to walk my child down the aisle. And when you strapped on that helmet, and this goes for anything. This isn't just football. When that dad puts on the or mom puts on that bulletproof vest in the morning, and they strap in that gun or they get in that ambulance, that is what they're dealing with. You know, like that ultimately is what they're dealing with. You know, a guy that I went to the academy with, he passed away in Baton Rouge from a incident, and I saw him 2 weeks before. And so I'm supposed to sit there and buckle up my chin strap or whatever, or put on my vest or whatever your job at that point may be, and go back and act like everything's okay. Football's no different. Football is no different. So I tell you this, 95% of America would be traumatized if that was somebody that they knew. The 5% are Looney Tunes. Okay. Yeah. So it's a tough topic. And what's more scary to me than anything is that me and you have to sit here and have this conversation. Right? Like that's the scary part to me, is that why do I have to have this conversation when me and you agree? And it's because of the world that we now live in, when you have Rudy Poos out there like Skip Bayless, who says, well, the game's really important. We got to get the playoff seeding. Like, dude, shut up. You know, like that's the part to me that's like, that's the scary part. That's the part that I just can't get out of my head.
And I saw that. And then I said to myself, maybe, and this is like me being just like, I am my mother's daughter, but I'm like, no, I'm going to look at the real good side of humanity that's come out in this, because the majority of people who aren't the loud screaming Skips of the world are the people saying like, hey, football don't matter now. Life matters. He's a human. Let's talk about the human side of this. Let's get together and actually see. I hate saying the like beauty, because there's no beauty in this, right? It's so ugly, and there's so much hurt that's come from this. But seeing other human beings come together in prayer, and, you know, opponents become allies, and you know, like to me, that's the part where I'm like, God, this is, again, and it's like, why does it have to be in tragedy that you see good? Why is it in tragedy we have to see that there's actually really good things in human beings? Like, I hate that. That's what has made me see that. But like, that's the part that maybe I'm just choosing to focus on, because I don't want to focus on the Rudy Poos and the Skips of the world, because at the end of the day, like, people remember that shit, and it's like, just shut up. And there's a beautiful thing now called the block button. So just block them and mute them.
You know what I was thinking about that, when, you know, like I think about the last time like our country was unified, like really, really unified, probably 9/11. And I'm a massive Yankees fan, massive. Okay. I don't tell a lot of people that. I
did
look
not
at
know
you
this
looking at me
about
like
you.
that,
Yeah.
but look,
Mhm.
I'm Italian. Okay.
All right. All right.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Like I watch The Sopranos. Okay. Shout out to my boy Joe DeLeon, my new SEC podcast host or
Yes.
co-host. When George W. Bush went out in the New York or an old Yankee Stadium and threw out the first pitch with a bulletproof vest after 9/11. Didn't know who did it, whatever. And he goes out there and throws a strike. I'm talking about a rifle shot from a 60-year-old man. Like that's the kind of stuff that I wish like this would do. But and I think that it is, like you see Christian McCaffrey, you see, I think the Houston Texans today, like his nonprofit that only wanted to raise $2,500. It's like at $5 or $6 million or something crazy like that.
Within the last 2 hours, it was at over 6.6 million.
There you go. I mean, there you go. That's what Damar wants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what Damar wants. And so if something was going to come of it, let the good come out of it. And that's the part. Like we get, and you bring this up, and you're right. We focus on the loud 1%ers, and we don't focus on the 99% of people who, like, who the first person that went to his GoFundMe and donated $1,000 was Christian McCaffrey, the running back from San Francisco. And I'm thinking, he didn't go to social media. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't retweet anything. That's just a normal dude. And that does give me hope. I agree with you.
Yeah. I guess I'll end with this one question, and I don't even know if you know how to answer it, but I had asked you in the beginning and you kind of talked about how football players become dehumanized or, get desensitized to certain things that go along with the game. Because I feel like now we are starting to really focus on the human element, the empathy element in all of this. What do you think can be done or can continue to be done to really highlight bringing that human element back to football players?
So here's what's crazy. This has happened before. Okay. And forgive me, I don't know the guy's name anymore. I talked about this on my show last night. Hockey player, I think it was the Stanley Cup, 1998. Puck came up, hit a guy in the chest. Same incident happened. The guy fell the same exact way. EMTs come out to the ice. They have to get him on the cart because something with the electrical and the ice and stuff like that. So crazy story. This has happened before. Well, we've advanced like how you can get a chest guard and you just got to make guys more aware, like you just have to be aware and you have to make technology to make things safer. What can be done? I don't know, but I think you have to know now. And I think every football player in America, whether it be Pee-wee, maybe not Pee-wee, whether it be junior high, high school, college, junior college, now the pros, now, okay. Like, when that there's a chance that you might not walk off that field. Yeah. Okay. And it's very slim, but Jenna, there's a part of sports though. If I were to have died in my life, I would have rather me be playing football. Okay.
Why?
I love it. Jenna, I've completely changed my entire life to start a podcast that I had no idea would go where it was going because I love football. Okay. It's my first love. Before I knew my wife, football loved me. You know what I'm saying? Before my mama's mad at me, you know who's not mad at me? Football. And so it's like, that's the thing that God, country, and football, or God, family, country, football. After God and family, there's a close second to me when it comes to that family part. I'm serious about that. I think mainly because for, I think what that'd be 13 or 14 years of my life, I gave everything I had to one thing. I perfected a craft. I woke up at 5 a.m. for a craft. I sacrificed friends time with friends for a craft. I broke up with a girl for a craft. I legitimately sat there and rehab twice for an ACL. I got woke up during a surgery on accident because the anesthesia was, something happened with the anesthesia at the end. I literally have sat there multiple times and rehabbed the knee that will never be the same. And all because it's a sense of control and dominance, I think, too, because I might be a little bit of a control freak, but I love football more than I love some people. Okay. And that's just the truth. And look, they know that I like them a lot and probably love them, but I don't love them more than football. And that's just me, that's legitimately, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on what I want to do and how I want to do it and who I want to be with. And it's like a samurai going into battle. I'm a nerd in this sense. I love reading like old historic war books and what guys were going through. And I'll never forget this old Japanese samurai, and he was talking about, he knew that they were going into battle. It's kind of like The Last Samurai. Like if you've seen the movie, it's basically the same book. And he goes on battle. He goes, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die with my sword. So it's that same kind of mentality, whatever, you know what, Jenna, we're just men. We're dumb. How about that one? Because now that I'm thinking about this out loud, it sounds pretty dumb sometimes, but it's just how I would want to go. Really. It's how I'd want to go.
I understand the love though, because that is me with volleyball. It is my first love in life. Nothing will replace your first love. Nothing comes close to your first love. And you want to talk about that time you hated mom and your dad or needed to get away? Who was there for you? The court and the ball. And I perfecting a craft. I started playing at 11 until the age of 21 and was forced out because of an injury. And I tried and I tried and I woke up during a surgery trying to get that wrist injured. And I tried and I moved to Miami, Florida to the game. I moved to Marshall, Minnesota for the game because I just wanted to play because I loved it and I wanted to win. And I'm stubborn and I'm real stubborn like that, but I guess this is the one question I keep asking myself was, I played and I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it so much. I was ruthless and crazy and a slight bitch on the court, but it was like my alter ego. I was like we have an alter ego when we play, right? It's not you when you step on, it's someone else. It's this different persona in you that comes out, and they can only come out when you're on there. But can I say that I would step on the court if I knew I was going to die?
I don't think so. Listen, if I knew that I was going to die if I stepped on the field, I ain't getting on that motherfucker.
Yeah. Okay, that's the truth.
But if I were to go, right, look, I don't want to drown. Look, my biggest fear is drowning. Look, I don't like the water. My big ass going to sink. Okay. So I don't like no water. Let me just get it out of there.
Okay.
But it's like, if I had to, not that I want to, but if I had to, I think for me, just let me go out on my sword. Let me go out, as an example, the second time I was rehabbing, I don't know if you went through this too, but the second time when I was rehabbing, I knew it was done. I knew it, and I fought it, and I fought it. And I have never shared really this with anybody really. I got clinically depressed. I told him I wouldn't take medicine for it because I just knew it was over. Having to tell somebody that I didn't do it. I failed. Yeah. And I didn't really fail.
But in your mind you failed, and I get that.
You failed. And so and I think about this, and the reason I started AYS Sports is because I did not want to coach. Those people make way too little money, okay, at times.
Same.
And I think it was just a part of, look, I get to talk about it and yell about it and love it and watch it. And I get to tell people I get paid to do it. So nana boo boo, bitch. So that's where I'm at. I got to be honest.
Nothing wrong with that.
Did I just say nana boo boo, bitch?
You said nana boo boo, bitch. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for listening on in. I hope that by the time this comes out, there is better news, more up-to-date news on Damar Hamlin. at the time that I'm recording this, which is 6:30 on a Wednesday, there is not any new updates, but I hope that there will be some very soon. So everyone, if you believe in the power of prayer, say a prayer for this young man, for him, for his family, for his mother, for everyone around him, the doctors around him, helping him, everyone helping. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week. Thank you again. And we'll end every episode the way that we always do, even though it kind of seems, I don't know, a little silly to end it this way, but I just hope you all take the time today to realize that we have way more in common with each other than we have different. Until next time, guys, take care.